Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania Magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. All right, welcome back to DubLife Diaries. Today's guest is the real deal. This is a guy that's lived and breathed Volkswagen since before most of us knew what a valve cover was. From his Mulholland look, hopefully I did say that right. Yeah, the square headlights.
Yeah.
1970 Beetle, that was his first car, to becoming a master tech for Volkswagen, to run in one of the most trusted Eurovan and air-cooled shops in the Pacific Northwest. Joe Kent has seen it all. He grew up in Sarasota, Florida. Whoop, whoop, 941. For those of you that know the area, which like me, because I'm from here, that's just about 25 minutes south of me. Just a quick stone's throw over the Skyway. For those of you that are locals, you know where Sarasota is. Anyway, built his life on the VW culture, worked with legends like Les from Eurotech Racing. Trust me when I tell you, this episode is going to be what every VW fan is going to want to pass around and maybe even listen to twice. Joe Kent, welcome to DubLife Diaries.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Good to meet finally.
Thank you. You as well. You as well. I've been looking forward to this one because I got your whole backstory, and I'm like, dang, dude, he's all the way out there in Seattle, but he's got roots right around St. Pete. We're going to get into all of it. Before we do, let me just real quick give a quick shout out to my sponsors. First up, Volksmania Magazine. You guys know how I feel. I feel this is the flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. Why? Because the people, just like our community, the people. Paul Cave and the team, awesome people. Volksmania.com. Use DubLife10, DUBLIFE, the number 10 at checkout. That'll get you 10% off your subscription. Also, shout out to Salty Dub. From the beach to the bay, Salty Dub is tearing up the VW scene with epic VW events and swag. Excited to say that Salty Dub is putting on a show here at the downtown St. Pete Pier in just about 2 weeks, man, on a Saturday. So on the 24th, you should know. Everybody that's listening should know. Sign up if you haven't. SaltyDub.com. VDubs on the pier is going to be epic. You can also use DubLife10 at checkout for anything on Salty Dub's website, according to merch. All right, dude, enough of me. This is about the other Joe Kent. So let's get back to you, my friend. Back to you.
Right on.
Let's go back. Take us back to who maybe young Joe Kent was before Volkswagens took over your life.
Wow. Young Joe Kent before Volkswagens. It was all about music, all about art, and loved both of them. And my dad always built cars and built lots of hot rods back in the 50s and 60s. That kind of rubbed off on me, and just had a passion for it, and just fell in love the first time I saw one. Saw Herbie the Love Bug, of course. Who doesn't fall in love with Herbie the Love Bug? So
That's right.
that just sparked it and lit that flame.
So your first car, the Mulholland look, the square headlight fiberglass fenders, right?
Yeah.
1970 Beetle. Tell us about that car, what it meant to you.
Yeah. So 1984, my girlfriend, her stepfather owned the Volkswagen dealership in Sarasota, and I had my license for a short period of time. I had a 84 Buick Regal I was driving. It was my grandfather's car. I was driving for a little bit. It wasn't, quote unquote, my first car. I was looking for a car, taking my girlfriend home from school. There's this Beetle on the lot. Fiberglass fender, as the Vega headlights, Vega taillights, had the duckbill whale tail on it. 10-inch chrome modular wheels on it, 10-inch wide, 15-inch, red velour interior. Had to have it. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this car. Talked to her stepfather a little bit about it, went home, and just wouldn't stop talking about it with my mom and dad. Just finally just wore them down. and had to have this car. First time I've ever seen a Mulholland look car.
Hmm.
It was just everything to me. So talked mom and dad into helping me out. I had about half the money for it. Mom and dad helped me out with the rest. And my dad takes me there, and we get there, and he's like, "Wait a minute, you can't drive a stick shift." And I looked at him and was like, "Today's the day I learn." And I got in that car and I stalled. I think I stalled a total of 3 times before I figured it out and never looked back.
The rest
Loved
was
the car to
history.
death, and the rest was history. And
So cool.
yeah, and at that point with that car, I was kind of known as the Volkswagen guy in Sarasota. Just everyone knew who I was. Nobody'd seen the Mulholland car driving around.
Yeah, yeah.
A couple buddies had air cooled Volkswagens, and but that one was just candy apple red and
Mm.
just yeah, super deep acrylic enamel paint. Just it just went deep for days, and it just super fun car. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that,
yeah,
that
it was a good time.
sounded like it was pretty.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good looking car.
Yeah.
I liked it, and it was a decent driving car. Lots of underlying issues that when you're a kid you don't realize. The sheet metal screwed in stop signs for floors and stuff like that. Which you don't think of when you don't know anything about them. You just see it, and you're just like, wow, I have to have it.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
it runs, it drives, it ran well. Then you start looking underneath it. You have it for a little while. You start learning things, and like people are asking you, "Hey, did you look here? Did you look there? Did you look underneath this? Did you do that?" And it's like, "Oh, no." And then you're driving in, your Florida torrential downpour with the water on the roads, and the fiberglass. You hit a puddle in the road, and the fiberglass separates, and the water comes shooting in from the hole in the floor pan. It's things you learn about, and
Yeah.
it didn't detract from me loving the car and
Sure, sure.
sinking every ounce of my being into it.
So back then, though, so you've kind of referenced that you had a nickname and there was a scene. What was the VW scene like in the '80s in Sarasota?
It was a blast. We had our core group of guys. We were friends with all the mini truck guys,
Yeah, of
and
course.
and Friday and Saturday nights growing up in the '80s, it was going out to the beach at night, parking lot, 300 or 400 cars deep, and everyone had their area. We had all the Volkswagens lined up, the mini trucks were over by us, all lined up. All the muscle cars were across the parking lot lined up, and then you know there weren't so many exotic. You had the 4x4 guys that were there, and it just everyone got along with everyone. Yeah, there were the fun rivalries, like hey, my car, it was 1641, wasn't a super fast car. Had a friend that had a car, a Beetle that would just tear it up, and little out of the parking lot, take off from the parking lot, little grudge matches and stuff. And they didn't like it when a little Volkswagen would walk them,
Yeah.
and but it was fun. We all got along. It was a good time, and we'd get run off from one beach, and so we'd go to the other beach and hang out there until closing time, and then we'd
Heck
end up
yeah.
at one of the guys' houses and you
That,
know
that's my
stay the night
childhood right
there.
there. That my
Yeah,
childhood was, what you mentioned, the rivalries, but our rivalries were skaters versus surfers.
yeah, oh yeah. We had that too. We had that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for
And,
sure.
and and the skater guys would have VWs and the surfer guys would have VWs, so
Yeah,
it's like, well, we're supposed to be at each other's throats, but
yeah. We just can't seem to just find anything to really argue about.
right, right.
Exactly.
Cool car,
And
by
that's
the
how it
way.
was down there. It
Yeah.
was like that down there. But yeah, my core friends group, it was great. And my parents were awesome. My dad would come home from working all day, and there'd be 4 or 5 Volkswagens in the front yard on the driveway, and we'd be wrenching on our cars, and he'd come home in an uproar. What the hell's going on? What are you guys doing? This isn't Animal House. And in the next
Sure.
breath, he's like, "Are you guys all staying for dinner?" And he'd make
Right,
dinner for
right,
all of
right,
us.
right.
He'd cook for all of us, and it was great times. I had one friend, and he was from a family that was fairly well to do, and he had a Rolex Presidential, and he'd be wrenching on his Carmen Ghia with his Rolex President. And my dad was like, "What's wrong with you?" And it's just like, "He's just a watch." And my dad's
Yeah.
just like, "Oh yeah, that's at the time that's a month's salary, it's like or more, and
Right,
like
right.
yeah, yeah. And it's like we didn't see stuff like that. There was no, I had these guys, Volkswagens drew us into each other. It was like some of our friends had money, some of us didn't, but it wasn't about anything like that. It didn't have any barriers. You live on the side of town on the water, and multi-million dollar homes. We live in the middle class neighborhoods. Didn't matter. Volkswagens brought us all together, and
Yeah.
we just had a good time, and
Yeah.
it was a great time. It was a great memory, and I think of it, and I can remember. My friends even say, "How do you remember that?" I'm like, I don't know. It just stuck.
Those are the
It
things that got
stayed with
burned
me.
in. Yeah.
It burned in hard. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So, what was the moment then, maybe in your childhood or in your youth, should I say, that you realized kind of, hey, this isn't really just a hobby anymore, right? This is like this could become an identity for me.
Well, that again goes back to high school is when it really just I was really big into art and really big into my car, and it was always just my car, my car, my car, my car, my car. And school was okay, I got through it, but I was always worried, always working on my car. Always
So
going
it was high
got to go
school.
to a show. It was high school,
It was like
and
like you just described. Your dad came home. You got five guys in the driveway. You guys are all working on the car. That's when it really kind of took
that's
off.
when it
You
sunk
knew.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then when my dad started dragging cars home because my dad was disabled after so many heart attacks, and he'd find things to do, and he'd drag home, he'd get cars for free. He'd drag them home.
Here
And then we had a
you
two-car
go, boys.
garage.
Get it
Yeah.
running.
He
Yeah.
had a two-car garage in the backyard. And so a lot of these cars might have been wrecked or just completely. He started taking them apart. And then he started cleaning up all the stuff. And he'd label everything. And he started putting them in the cabinets in the garage. There
Wow,
were
man.
starters and
Dude,
alternators. And he just in boxes and
killer.
just like door handles. He just started doing that stuff. So it kind of got him on board with doing it as well.
Nice, man.
And he didn't go to the car shows and stuff with us, but yeah, it's the early days. We knew all the guys up in Tampa, St. Pete. That was most of the places we had to go when we had to have real work done on our cars. We had a shop in town that was called Big Buggy. They were more about Bajas and stuff. Had a couple core guys there. Mike, ended up opening Mike's VW service in Bradenton. He had a red chop top air cooled Beetle that used to run the track in Bradenton and Orlando alongside of Ray from Total Performance in Tampa. But we had to a lot of times we had to drive to Tampa to get to go to Total Performance or Fisher Buggies. I knew Ken quite well,
Yeah.
and on the weekends, after school on a Friday, drive up, go talk to Ken. Hey, we need this, we need that. Hey, we're gonna need a motor built, and have Ken build the motor or have Ray build the motor, and that's kind of how it was. The simple stuff we could do, but getting into motors and stuff, but we weren't there yet. We could keep them running. We could do a simple brake job. I could do a lowered beam in the car. We'd go to Fisher Buggies, buy a beam they'd cut and turn the beam,
Yeah.
bring it back home. A buddy of mine built his car in '89. We put a beam in that car back in '88, '87 before he bought it. That car still has that same beam that I put in that car in the '80s,
Damn,
and
man.
it's still in it. Not narrowed before the old days of narrowing. It's
Yeah.
just we buy the stuff and put it together and put it in the cars, and do it and just drive.
So you mentioned a couple of some pretty big names for the area. While I have you here on kind of thinking about this, who were some of like the big players back in the late '80s, early '90s, and like the Sarasota, Tampa Bay culture back then?
Well, back in the air cooled culture back then, you had Total Performance, Ray from Total Performance. I know Dave Evans had talked to you about him pretty
Oh,
extensively on his
yeah, that's my dude.
piece with you.
He's a fantastic human
Yeah,
and
Dave's a
a
great guy.
great
I've
supporter.
known Dave since those days,
Wow,
since the early
cool,
days
man. That's
when
cool to know.
we'd go down to we didn't hang out so much because again he was in Tampa, we were in Sarasota, but we'd always meet up at the shows. And then whenever something was going on up in Tampa, we'd meet up there. I'd been to his parents' house when he lived. I believe it was I don't remember if it was Town and Country or Carrollwood. His parents lived, and we used to go to his house when he had a black and blue oval window before he built his Gia,
Wow,
and he
cool.
built a convertible '63 Gia that he ended up selling, and it went overseas. And but yeah, Ken Fisher and Fisher Buggies back when they were on Gandy,
Yeah, I actually
long
remember that.
before.
They did a motor for
Yeah,
me in '96,
yeah,
and
yeah. And
it was back there.
I know, and Jim worked for Ken back then. And I know Jim is, the torch was passed to Jim, and Jim runs Fisher Buggies now. And there was down in Bradenton, there was the Beetle shop, a guy named Dell Johnson, amazing engine builder. knew we were up his behind all the time, asking him questions and how do we do this? How do we do that? And there was a shop in Sarasota called Big Buggy, who I ended up, we'll talk about later. When I went to work for the dealership, a guy that owned a shop called Big Buggy named Dan Butler ended up going back to the dealership, working at the dealership. I worked with him. He was a big, mentor when it came to asking questions on the air cooled stuff. Um, yeah, it was a good time. There was some part stores. There was a shop up, I believe, in Holiday. I can't remember the name of it, in the late '80s, early '90s. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. They had a couple shows there, but it was I don't think that they did any repair work. It was only a store. Then you had Sundance. I don't remember the gentleman's name who owned it before Terry, in Plant City.
Hmm.
Then you had the Bug Hut in Orlando, which was just a store. They didn't do any work, but we'd go. We'd hop in our cars from Sarasota and go visit the Bug Hut, go visit Total Performance. Those were where we had to go. Drive an hour, 2 hours to go and visit these cool shops. Because we didn't have California, so it's
Yeah, no, and shout out to both those guys, to
yeah, for
Sundance,
sure.
to Terry, and to Fisher Buggy. I'm closer with Tony, there, and they both of those guys are supporters of our local shows.
Right, and everybody should
So
be.
yeah, so we
It's a
really we
big but
value
small
that.
community. Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
it's wide reaching. You have your communities that they're smaller, but it just it everybody seems, it's kind of like the whole 6 degrees of separation. It's like you may not know them personally, but oh, I know that guy. Oh, I'm friends with him. Oh, I can go to a car show in California and all of a sudden I'll hear my name yelled out. And the people I'm with are like, how, somebody everywhere. I'm like, it, I, it's just it's a large, wide-reaching, small community is
Yeah,
what it is, and
yeah. Well, I
it's
learned
great.
that.
Yeah,
So, I've always been a fan. Let's just put it that way. But when I decided to start this podcast, obviously it comes with charting your success, right, through the apps and so there's an app
right.
that's called Podbean that I produce the show on. And dude, in the first like 30 days of my very first episode coming out, it's like 16 countries downloaded the podcast. I'm like,
Wow.
surely this is, false. There's no way. Who Volkswagen community, isn't in Bangladesh. Like, I'm like, come on, this is bullshit. So I start searching on Google, internet searching these areas that are downloading the podcast, and sure enough, man, I'm coming across, in Bangladesh, they do the same crazy shit we do to our cars.
Yeah,
It's just a different part of the world. It's like
right.
it's the
Yeah, it's
coolest thing. So my point was I learned that the Volkswagen community is massive. It's worldwide. At the
right,
same time, it's small and it's intimate and it's cool as shit. So,
right.
um,
Absolutely.
any before we move past it, any wild stories or early, shows that stuck out to you or cruises or any cool builds from 80s, 90s that really stuck out that you still remember?
Yeah, where do I start?
Oh, cool. Good. I was
What?
hopeful.
Yeah, show wise. Wow. The early shows down in Fort Lauderdale. I don't remember the owners' names, but Street and Sand Toys down in Fort Lauderdale was a big, big shop down there. And we used to go down to Fort Lauderdale and go to those shows. And some of the Miami shows were really, really good. West Palm Beach, that always the Volkswagen dealership down there always put on a great show. I think that was called Coral VW, down in West Palm. And I still have photographs of friends of mine and friends that I've reconnected with down in Miami, from Miami V Dub Caesar.
Yeah.
He's got the six door thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
just I just sent him a message just a few weeks ago asking him to come on the
awesome.
podcast.
Oh, very
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Um, again, people I met back in the '80s at those shows. He had a white square back with a big pink and red graphic up the side, and we met. And I've got pictures. I just sent him pictures of that car last week, and just from the '80s, and just it's just those things that just stick with you, and they're still there. It's like to realize, and not knowing for over 25 years, that these people are still into it just like I am.
Yeah,
There's,
yeah, yeah.
Phil Wiener, Albert Wiener, the Wieners. They've been really big in the more rare and period correct, Hoffman split windows, stuff like that, and just
Ooh.
they're still in it. All the guys from Miami V Dubs, and we reminisced about the West Palm Beach car shows. I was known for my super low Carmen Ghia
Mm.
that I used to win the lowest contest. And this is before airbags. There were no airbags. This was static,
Static, yeah.
and you drive 3 hours to West Palm Beach, Miami. You didn't have I-75. You had Alligator Alley.
Bro, I
So,
remember.
and we drove these cars on the ground. And
They're
I
good.
would push, not only would I push golf balls with my car, I was taking out road reflectors like mad. I
Yeah,
couldn't,
I was just
yeah.
thinking that.
And that was the demise of that car. We were coming back from West Palm Beach one year, and I think we were in Sebring area, and the road was all graded. They were doing work on the road. So the manhole covers are elevated because they're getting ready to repave. And I
Mm.
didn't see it, and I hit it. And it
Mm.
just it tacoed that front beam and the front bulkhead of the car. I'm surprised we didn't go through the windshield.
Oh
And
my
it
goodness.
just stopped the car dead.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so that was the demise of that car. But back then, there weren't airbags. It's just super low and super loud and super fast. As fast as we could get back then. It's
Sure, sure.
but because a big motor back then was, the guy with the 1905 was, king of the street. And it's like, and then he only brought that out on weekends, and it's like, you know, but yeah, we had some good times. The early Bug Hut shows in the '80s. Met a lot of really, really amazing builders back then. Met Shannon Ray for the first time, the famous VW Trends, cover model, and uh, we're acquaintances on Facebook now still, and she's made a resurgence in the VW scene with Dan Ledbetter and VW Trends. She did the
Yeah,
cover.
yeah.
I think the
Cool, man.
inaugural cover. Don't know her personally, but we've corresponded throughout. Back in the '80s, met her, talked to her. I had Super 8 video from the Bug Hut shows with me, bikini contests and stuff like that, things that don't happen anymore. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
it was it was
yeah.
a fun time, and just
Ledbetter was
you
talking
know,
about that too. Was talking about the
yeah,
bikini contests at the shows.
yeah. And
Um,
it was a different time. It was great. It
yeah,
was fun, and it just, and again, it was just fun. It was just a good time, and
sure,
yeah,
sure.
I wouldn't trade it for the world. I tell my son about it and stuff, and he just like shakes his head and he's like, "We, yeah, okay." And, it's,
Was there a I don't know, maybe a back and forth between air cooled and water cooled guys back then?
well, so honestly, you didn't see a huge number of water cooled guys. So in the earlier '80s, you'd see your occasional rabbit, and
Yeah.
there wasn't a whole lot of stuff. Like Zender made body kits for them, and you were king daddy if you had 15s on your car. It was like,
Right.
oh my gosh, 15s. And and then along came the Mark IIs. And I remember the Bug Hut show in '86. There was literally two or three water cooled cars in the whole show.
How did that
And one
change
of
in the 90s then? Because I know in the
oh
90s they
the
blew up.
'90s completely changed it.
Yeah.
And but I was always air cooled.
Yeah.
And our rivalry, we used to have no H2O stickers on our cars. But
Right.
that was more
So
that was more
that's what I
geared
was looking
towards
for. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that was
Okay.
more geared towards the V8 guys.
Right.
Because in Sarasota, you didn't have a lot of water cooled Volkswagens running around at that time.
Right.
You had the V8 guys. We had a guy with a '55 Chevy that oh he'd get his feathers get ruffled whenever he'd see one of us drive by. And the car was fast, very, very fast car. But if you know, and anyone else will know, you're not going to jump a Volkswagen off the line. You can have a
Right.
1600 in that thing. You dump that clutch and go. It might be for the first 5 feet, but I don't care. You're not going to take a Volkswagen off the line. It's
Right.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
And and then my buddy Tim Oberhoff, he probably built one of the fastest air cooled cars, street cars in Sarasota at the time. Superflow heads. It was a 2110 or 2180. It would lift the front wheels off the ground. It was a street car, and license plate says you lose. You know, And car was, the paint and body work, metal work was all done by Teddy's Hot Rods in Pinellas Park back in the day. Who
Sweet.
in turn they were building. We all met them through me. I met them at the World of Wheels car show back in the early '80s. Um, and I saw the stuff they did. And my first custom car that I was building was a '63 ragtop. And I picked that car up from the original master technician for Volkswagen in Sarasota,
Ooh, damn.
um, old German man. And he owned a diesel
Wow.
service in Sarasota. Bought that car from him, and lots of rock down in the A pillars, down by the doors. And I knew I met these guys at World of Wheels, and I wanted to do suicide doors. They came up with probably the most brilliant suicide door hinge setup ever. It was so discreet. It wasn't hacked up. I want to say a good 20 to 30 guys after me went and just had suicide doors done by them. Then they started doing the suicide doors on my buddy Scirocco. They did them on mini trucks. And a couple of mini truck builders to this day. Well, now it's full size trucks they build. They're building world class trucks now. But
Sweet.
They built that car. They were building that car for me, and I was end of my high school career, just getting out of high school, big visions for the car, suicide doors, filled in dash, filled in the rear vents below the back window. It was going to be, I had grand ideas for this car. And I probably got it to about, I'd say the 65, 70% stage. Doors were done, all the metal work was done, fenders were fitted, and doors were gapped, and it was going to be a cool car. Well, ADHD kicks in, and I see something shiny. Oh, and my focus goes somewhere else. And
Oh,
Teddy's like, "Hey, what are you gonna do with this car?" And I'm like, I guess I'm gonna sell it. I wanted to go to art school. It's gonna cost. Back then, yeah, it wasn't as much money as it is now, but it was gonna cost a bunch of money to build this car. Teddy wanted the car. He put so much time. Him and his dad put so much time into that car. He turned that car into an amazing points winning World of Wheels car. It beat so
wow.
many other cars. The all the bolts and the fenders were all plated, and every bolt was oriented so the riding was the same. The car was just
Dude,
flawless. You might have seen it at some of the shows. It was called Artist Proof.
damn.
He used to go to the Lakeland shows. Had back in the days of huge displays. That car won World of Wheels up and down the Eastern Seaboard. It was an
Nice.
amazing car, and I'm so happy and fortunate that he took the car on and completed it and made it what I couldn't do.
Sure.
Um, and that car, he and I are both now looking for that car because I want that car back badly. And
Yeah.
he sold it to a young couple in South Carolina, and then the car just disappeared. I think it went to a few shows. It might have went to Manassas a couple times, a few shows up there, like in the southeast, uh, above Georgia shows, and then it just disappeared.
Mm,
And it was such a well built car. I can't see that it would be one of those cars that just got left outside and
right.
you know just deteriorated. It's in someone's garage somewhere, either forgotten about or just they moved on, they raised their family. It's just a car that sits there. It's so Teddy and I have not actively been trying to find it, but we put the feelers out a few times. I did some searches of the name up in South Carolina. Dead ends, but that was an amazing car from my youth that I would love to have back.
I know that feeling
Yeah,
of kind of the one that got away, you know.
yeah.
It's
I got a couple of them. I got more than
yeah,
one, but
I'm
that
sure.
was my
I'm
first
sure.
one that got away.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, in the later '90s, I did make a transition into doing more water cooled stuff eventually.
So
Kind of got bit by that bug a little bit too.
well, let's head there. Let's head there. So fast forward a little bit, you meet Les and you start working for Eurotech Racing.
Yeah,
Give me that whole story, of how that happened, how you met. Maybe even while you're thinking about that, let's think about maybe one of the biggest things that you took away from working next to, somebody like that for the amount of
sure.
time you did.
Sure. Met Les at we've been going to the Land O'Lakes car show since the very beginning. So when there was basically no water cooled presence there either. There's a few cars. And that was I forgot where they used to have that show. It's at Dade City Fairgrounds now, correct?
Bug Jam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't it used to be Zephyr Hills?
I believe so.
That's
I
where it
believe
started.
so.
And then it moved
Yes. And then
to
it moved over to the fairgrounds. And they used to coincide with the Flapjack Festival and stuff like that. I thought
so
something like that.
I went twice in the 90s,
Okay.
and then I got a girlfriend and sold my Beetle and was
Yep.
kind of
That
out of
happens.
yeah, of course, out of the scene
Yeah.
temporarily for a little while. Obviously
Yep.
then life started and kids and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah. So I
But
want to
yeah.
say in the later, I don't want to say it was probably the later, it's probably more in the 90s where where Les and I met. I was still into air cooled stuff real heavy. Always walked the swap meet looking for stuff. And Les was the water cooled guy from Tampa. And we'd always shoot the shit, chit chat. He had some friends that I knew from up in Orlando and Lakeland and stuff like that that are still into the air cooled Volkswagens. Um, and he was always, and I did drive a water cooled Volkswagen as a daily driver. I had the Passat came out and I fell in love with it. And he was like, "Hey, you need to do some stuff to that car." I'm like, I just drive it. I've got no interest in water cooled. I don't want to fix it up.
I remember I think it was 97. The Jetta changed their body style to the new version of the Jetta.
Right. So the new version of the Jetta was
Was that 97 or
90
98?
90 94 95 came out with the Mark III. And that
What
was the Golf Jetta and Cabrio
so
went to
when
that
when did the next model come out? 90
99.
99. Maybe it
The
was
Mark
99.
IV.
Maybe
Yeah.
it was 99. I bought that
Yeah.
car
Okay.
in 98 for my girlfriend back then.
Oh,
And
nice.
then she ended up taking my truck everywhere because she always needed it. And I ended up taking the Jetta everywhere. So
Yeah.
it was kind of
Yeah.
fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that era.
Yeah. So I had my Passat. I met Les at a show. He always had a big swap meet space. And the only thing they offered for my car were vented, like drilled rotors and stuff. They didn't, air lowering springs. And that's all they really offered with the car. And I was just like, whatever. And then so 93 came around. I got the VR6 Passat came out. I got that. I lowered that, put
Mm.
an Oettinger exhaust on it. Again, they didn't offer much stuff for that. Les was big into the Mark II GTIs, stuff like that. The Recaro interiors, all
Hmm.
that stuff. And they offered a lot more for those cars. Fast forward, I would say to 90, 96, 97. I bought 97, I should say. Driver's Edition GTIs came out and they offered it in Jazz Blue, which to people who know water cooled cars, that was Audi's Nogaro Blue, a very, very bright, bright blue. VR6, leather interior, all kinds of just
Sick. I love that
had to have
VR6.
that car.
Sure.
Got that car and I was friends with Les. I was friends with all the guys from 1552 Designs. Brad was still in Sarasota at that time. I wanted to start doing stuff on that car. So you start off with the easy stuff. Then it progresses. Les is building these amazing cars out of Eurotech. I mean, G60, Synchro, Mark II Golfs, and he's just tearing it up in the water cooled world, just blowing it away. He used to buy wrecked cars and shells, and he bought it was a Windsor Blue 96 GTI. He turns around, does all these crazy, hoods or fender scoop being molded into the fender to bring intake into the fender. He goes and has all the body work done, hey, I'm going to do Ferrari Fly Yellow. Nobody's done a Mark III GTI. He
Wow.
does Ferrari Fly Yellow. He
Mm.
puts a set of 17-inch, nobody's had them, TSW VX1s on the car. He's got eight.
TXW.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's got AP he got AP racing brakes on it. So these are two-piece hat and rotor setups with monstrous six-piston calipers. I mean, they just to most people cost nobody's done it, and here Les is doing it.
Yeah, sweet.
He turbos the VR6, and he turns around and does all suede, ultra suede dash in the interior. He
Mm.
does Recaro A8 seats in it. He does a full roll cage in it. He does all this amazing stuff. nobody's seen it. You can see it in the D&W catalog out of Germany, a lot of that stuff, but nobody was doing that stuff. 6-speed Quaife gearbox in it. And it was groundbreaking back then. And he knew the guys from European Car Magazine. That's when they were doing a lot of heavy water cooled Volkswagen content along with the Porsche stuff. And started talking with Les. Oh, I want to do this stuff to my GTI. He wrecks the yellow. They're doing a piece on his yellow car. He's over by Tampa International with the editor of European Car in his car, and the car gets T-boned with them in the car. I mean, they're driving the car. The car gets so before the car ever made any magazine, it'd been to the Nopi Nationals. We went up to that car show back in '97. He's being interviewed, and they're doing a magazine shoot for this car, and the car just gets destroyed. So he's like, that's what happens. It's, it is what it is. He picks up another GTI and he builds a Windsor blue car. And he builds a blue GTI. And then that same thing, turbo, big horsepower, big brakes, full cage, suede interior, Recaro A8, seats that nobody are using in their car. It's just stuff that nobody's doing. Yeah, some of the guys in Canada were doing some cool stuff. Ron from Ron's Parts, he did a VR6 Cabrio. Les turns around, and Brad from 1552, they do a VR6 Cabrios. Projectable body kits out of Germany. Nobody's seen this stuff. It's just like, wow. So I get the bug up my butt. I'm going to build my Cabrio. I take my wife's Cabrio. She's like, you gotta sell the GTI. I'm like, all right, I'll sell the GTI. Sell that car, get her Cabrio, and I blow that car apart. So this is 1998. We're at that point. I've made that transition from air-cooled to water-cooled. 97, 98. I'm working on my Cabrio. I'm working for Les. He's like, hey, you want a job? Sure. I live in Sarasota, but I'll make the drive up. Cool. I'm like, I was in retail. I want to work on cars. This is my chance to get in the door. I start working with Les. The guy's a wizard with rebuilding cars and building high horsepower Volkswagens, just cool cutting edge stuff. Go to work with Les as I'm doing my Cabrio. Didn't work with Les for a long time. I'd say about a year. And just driving up and back and forth to Tampa. It was getting to be too much.
Sure.
And learned a lot from Les. I was like, hey, I need to keep it closer to home. I'd only been married a few years. We were thinking about a family. He's like, cool, but I was still up there every weekend. Every weekend I'm up at Eurotech. I'm building my car. I got a little shop I put together, just a little hobby shop. I turn around, I build that car, and it turns out Volkswagen came out with a new color, Futura Yellow, on the 99 GTI only, VR6 car. I blow this car apart, put a projectable body kit on it, do the Futura Yellow. I do all leather. I went and paint detailed the dashboard, literally took the head unit apart, painted that, put coilovers on it, put big Willwood brakes on it, put, big 17-inch BBS. I say big, but back then, 17s were the wheels. Built that car, had it featured in Performance VW, which was still is a big European English magazine. That Les knew them, and Brad from 1552 knew them real well. They've had several high-profile cars in that magazine. They did a photo shoot, big article on the car. Thanks to Les and Brad for that, and they were the big push on that for me to push the car and get it looking the way it did. And then I had the VR6. It was still a 2-liter at that point. And I'm like, I'm not going to just do a VR6. I'm blowing this car apart again. I blew the car completely apart. Lifted it up with a forklift. My good friend, Aaron Reed, who's a real good Volkswagen friend of mine, lifelong BMW tech. His brother does amazing paint and body work. He's painted several air-cooled cars that have done some nice awards and just all across the scene. He painted the car, and Volkswagen came out with a Beetle, and it was called Vortex Blue. And it was a periwinkle blue color. I'm like, I'm doing it that color. Blew the car apart, put Audi door handles in it, shaved the deck lid, shaved wiper squirters off of it, put vents in the front fender off of a Eurovan front fender so it could go into the intake.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
built that car, coilovers, big brakes. Um, wanted to do VR6, so I put a 6-speed gearbox in that. Turned around, built it's a 2.9. I was going to do a 3 liter. That's when the 3 liter was still, you haven't heard of it. Um, I did a 2.9 with a Schrick intake, Vortex supercharger. Just made the car crazy.
Fun.
Did Mark II Recaros in it, all in leather and suede dash. The car was amazing. It was an amazing build.
Show car. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, show car, and but
Huh.
it was the business too.
I bet.
Um,
Sounded like it.
used to took that to Bug Jam, won water cooled class a couple years in a row. Took it to Daytona to the big spring break tuner nationals that the tuner magazines put on, Euro tuner stuff like that. Made the magazines there with that.
Yeah,
Did the
sweet.
dyno did the dyno challenge, and I was a little nervous. I'm like, I know it was a big joke. I was like, if this car doesn't do over 300, I'm gonna drive it off into the beach in Daytona, drive it into the water. Did the dyno challenge, ended up doing 347 at the wheels with that
Damn,
car.
dude. Yeah.
And that car, I used to take it to the track once in a while for events when they did car shows at the DeSoto Speedway. And I'd drive in and I'd leave tire pressures the way I drove in. That was how I drove the car. And that car would drive smoking the tires all the way down the track and would still run 12 ones, literally just spinning the tires all the way down the track. And people were, oh, why don't you put slicks on it? Nope, this is how I drove it. I drove it in that way. I'm driving it
Driving
home
it
this
home.
way.
Yeah, driving it
I'm
home.
not going to take the back seat. And that's when a lot of the guys were getting into the Hondas and the Type R's,
Yeah,
and
I
they were
remember.
building, take a stock Type R motor, put it in their Honda, and
Yeah.
they're running high 11s, low 12s.
Yeah.
But
One
I'm not going to
1.8
go and
liter.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not going to take my headlight out and my seats out and lower my tire pressures or put slicks on it and break something. I drive the car, even though I wax the undercarriage once a month before car shows and stuff. You know, but during that time, the dealership, I'm in and out of the dealership for parts because everything I could put on factory wise, trim stuff, and I wanted to use Volkswagen OEM parts. So
So
I
this
was in
is
there weekly.
so this is timeline wise 98 then. This
That
is
was
actually
98.
this is when you went to work for Volkswagen.
Correct. I went to work for Volkswagen. So I'm in there
Yeah, bring
buying
bring us
parts
up
all
to
the
speed
time.
on that. How'd that
Yeah.
happen?
So I'm visiting the dealership all the time down in Sarasota. Had a couple of friends, actually mentor air cooled days were Volkswagen techs at the dealership, and they were a Volkswagen, Porsche, Audi dealer. So that's when Volkswagen and Audi were still literally the same dealership. When you could, it was they were we you could cross over lines, and when you got certified in one, you were certified in the other. So I was in there all the time, and the parts and service director was like, "What are you doing in here all the time? You're in here almost every day. Do you want a job?" And I looked at him, and I'm like, "Huh?" And so I had my experience with less. I've tinkered with air cooled. I've tinkered with water cooled. I've had motors apart. I've built suspensions. I've done all that stuff as a hobby, more or less, minus the time I was with Les. I was like, let's talk. So he talked and made me an offer. And back then, it's like, that's a lot of money to me. It's like, ooh, okay. Went to work for the dealer, and they started putting me through dealer training and to the factory training down in Davie, right by Miami, and never looked back. I was in the middle of building that cabrio when I got the job there, and they were gracious enough. I had two lifts inside and I had an outside lift. We had lifts that were outside, and knowing in Florida, 90% of the time you can work outside. We had like the tin top roof over them.
Right.
So I'm building this car. They let me build the car in my off time at the dealership. And so between getting stuff from Les at Eurotech and coming back to the dealership because I got the car up on my lift and putting the car together and getting the car running and done. And that car was done for the second time in 99. I want to say 99 ish. Working at the dealer, I'm full fledged in the dealer. They're putting me through training periodically, and just go go go. And I liked it. It was just that bit me. I'm like, hey, I like this. This is cool. I got cool guys that I work with. Um, I'm around Porsches. I'm not working on them, but that's cool. And I get to work on my car at work after work. And, I'm learning more and more and more about Volkswagens every day.
Yeah, so you become
So,
a master tech for Volkswagen.
yep.
How
So,
how how long does that take, and
well,
what's that process look like?
so that it usually does take quite a bit of time. And most of the guys that have been doing it for years will tell you it might be a little bit fast track now. They did have a program back in the day. They probably still do. It was called fast track. So a lot of times these kids that would go to trade schools, they'd go to the dealerships would hire them and send them through fast track and get their good huge chunk of training done.
Okay.
Well, I'm a guy that started off just wrenching at the dealership, and it's so they had to fit that time in. I couldn't fast track it, so it was like so usually like twice a year they'd send me to school, and then you
Okay.
would need just to be certified, you'd need 6 or 8 classes, and then you get your specialized certification in all the classes, and then you can get go ahead, your expert. You get your expert in the
I,
classes.
I started thinking when you said so. It made me think like I've talked to other Volkswagen technicians in the past that have had, training. So it made me think of this question. What are some of the, when you go through the training, a master tech, obviously years of experience now, what are the biggest things that dealership trainings get right? And maybe what are some of the biggest things that they fail to teach these technicians?
Well, honestly, the dealer training was awesome. It's all hands on, and it's in a classroom environment. There's about between 12 and 15 guys in the class. The instructor that I had, he had been with Volkswagen for years, and usually to become an instructor, you've been a master tech for years, and that's kind of like the next progression. You become a field manager, like they call it a field operations manager, and so they'll come in and visit dealers and with warranty and help with stuff with problem cars, stuff like that. Or you go on to be an instructor. So I want to say they got most things right because I'm a hands-on learner.
Hmm. So it was perfect environment for
It
you.
was perfect environment. So
Hmm.
like ASE certifications, you'll see a lot of the non-European shops are real big with ASEs.
Right.
ASEs are great. Your European shop, you talk to Volkswagen, again, this was years ago. I don't know how it is now. They don't care about ASE. You can say, I'm an ASE master technician. I've got my L1. They don't care. You're not a master technician for Volkswagen, Audi, or Porsche. You have to go through our training. They don't care. That has no regard. And honestly, when it comes to ASE training, I was terrible because that's all test like booklet test driven.
Right. Right.
My first wife was reading the questions and she knew nothing about cars, but she could answer these questions.
Good test taker.
She could have gotten her ASE certification and had never touched a car or a wrench. She didn't know which end of a wrench was the box end or the open end. And
Wow.
she could have gotten her ASE certifications.
Right, because she's a good
I
test taker. My wife's the
right,
same way. My wife's the same way.
exactly. And but in dealer training, it's kind of a fun environment. The instructor will bug the cars and you're there with other technicians and you'll bounce ideas off of each other. Okay, so why is this car not running? And he bugged the car, but he usually bugs it with something that could have more or less happened in real life. Your intake got clogged up. He'd go and throw a small roll of electrical tape in the mass airflow sensor so it can't suck the air in.
Right.
So we put our heads together. Hey, it's getting spark, it's getting fuel, it's not getting air. You pull it apart, and you're learning stuff fairly quickly that way because
Sure.
you're hands on, you're doing it, and you retain so much more information that way.
Right.
And it was very beneficial. The dealership didn't like you being gone for a week at a time, sometimes 2 weeks at a time. But with the knowledge you came back with, you yourself earn more money, which in turn you're making that dealership more money.
That's right.
And you're turning things around quicker. It's like instead of trying to diagnose something because you have an idea,
You've been trained. Now you get right to
you've been
the,
trained.
yeah, you cut to the chase.
It's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
It's one. Is it this? Is it that? Is it the other thing? Boom, 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 done.
Yeah.
Because with
Okay.
Volkswagen warranty, they are very, very lien on what they'd pay. So customer pay was one price, warranty is another price. Customer pay is based off of real world, you know, all data, shop monkey, stuff like that. And warranty, they cut it back, cut it back, cut it back. You know, hey, you've been trained on this vehicle from us. It shouldn't take you this long to figure it out.
Right.
And
Got
then
it.
so they give you X amount for diag. And then it's like,
Right.
wait a minute. They don't engineer the cars to be taken apart. They engineer the cars to be put together.
That's a good point.
Exactly. So they don't think of the technician tearing the car apart. They think, oh, it should only take you an hour and a half to do this job. When in actuality, there's no way to do it in an hour and a half. Maybe if you've done it 10 times, you can get it done in 2 hours. But and they know that. And they have forms you have to fill out and submit and
That's
all
kind of
that.
what some of the feedback is that I've heard is how that side of it on the for the dealership side was frustrating for some folks I've had on in the past,
Yeah.
other VW technicians,
Yeah.
kind of lost sight of, the big picture, made it more about, hours and skimming and not really taking care of their technicians. So, well,
Right.
what ends up happening then in the work ethic,
Right. Exactly.
and I'm not saying
Exactly.
that that's you or anybody else, but just society as a whole. If you,
No, exactly.
you know,
And as a dealership, and it's not even the owners of the dealerships. So the dealerships have to comply with everything Volkswagen wants them to do. So Volkswagen, your dealership makes money based off of lots of factors. Cars sold, customer satisfaction. Um, did you fix it right the first time? So when it comes to the service part of it, there's money that's on the table for that dealership when it comes to doing the work. They granted they want you to get it done quickly,
mhm,
but they want it done right the first time, which you want it done right the first time also.
right.
Because when it comes back the second time, you're not getting paid to do that job again. If it's your fault and you did something wrong, you're doing that job all over again for free.
That's right.
And that's how it is.
Yeah.
But so
Kind
the
of how it should be though,
dealerships,
really, to teach
yeah,
people to, cover their
right. And so
cover
the
their tracks.
dealerships do on the dealer level, they do want you to fix it right the first time because it benefits them because if it's done right, they've got good scores, they're in good standings with Volkswagen corporate, they get all their holdback money. And this is how it was back in the 90s and early 2000s. I don't know exactly how it runs now, but I'm
Right, right, right.
pretty sure it's pretty darn similar. Um, Granted, things are a bit different now when it comes to diagnosis, and so much stuff is data driven and plug in, and
Yeah, automated.
even automated, right? And even when
Yeah.
I was there, we could plug into the car and we could be on tech line with Volkswagen, which was at the time it was in Auburn Hills, Michigan. They could communicate with the car right then. This is the late 90s, early 2000s. They can communicate with the car and they're talking to the car and you're looking on the screen and you're watching the mouse go and they're doing everything. You're just watching them.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you checked this, you did that. And they basically verify that you did your steps and just retrace everything. And then they offer their suggestions. And but yeah, I mean,
All in all,
yeah,
sounds like dealership life was a good experience for you. In
it
the
was good. It was good until it wasn't. It started getting harder and harder, and warranty started getting leaner and leaner, and you had to
Yeah,
fight for your time.
that's what I've
And
heard. That's what I've
yeah,
heard.
and they would be quick to back flag you on your time.
And then they would change stuff from what I heard in the instructions of how you're supposed to do stuff. And if you've already mastered this certain process, and then they change it and you didn't follow protocol, another guy told me that you didn't get paid.
Correct. Correct. Like you didn't follow
Crazy.
procedure, and they say they found a way that's quicker to do it, and they didn't tell you
But it
about
would
it,
take
or
you longer. Right,
right.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
they're going to pay you what they're going to pay you. So in the early 2000s, for me, that was the sweet spot for working for Volkswagen. Um, the Passat, the 1.8T and 2.8 liter V6 Passats were out. They were having issues. The Eurovan, which I'm sure we'll touch base on here,
I'm
the
there.
Eurovan was the heyday for the Eurovan, was like 99, and then they ended it in '03. and there was so much work between Passats and Eurovans for me. My productivity was 180, 200%, sometimes 210%,
Wow.
because it was muscle memory. You're doing, camshaft seals and, cam adjuster seals on a 2.8 V6 that pays 13 hours warranty. I got to the point I was doing these things in 2 hours. I get
Good for
paid my
you.
13 hours.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, I shortcutted it, but you know what? I spent a lot of time doing that the
Right, you
proper
mastered
way.
it. You mastered it.
Right.
You deserve to be
And
able to do that way.
right.
You know what I mean?
And but we'd have techs come in that were new to the, and they're like, "Hey, show me how to do that shortcut." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Do it the right way first. Learn how to do that. You'll do okay. You'll make time. Do it, get it under your belt. Then I'll show you a shortcut. Because hey, if your shortcut fails, it's on you. If you don't put something together back correctly and you damage something, they can turn around and charge you, hey, you didn't put this back together right. You damaged this motor. They can technically, granted, they got shopkeepers insurance and stuff like that for big jobs like that, something that happens. But no, you're gonna do it right the first time, the first few times, learn how to do it properly, and then I'll show you to do a shortcut. It's and then that's the whole point, it's and then when it started turning into customer pay work, and then you're doing it, and you don't feel right about charging the customer, you know, full customer pay on those jobs. They're like, well, hey, I got it done in 2 hours. It pays 13 hours. Whatever. Cut it in half for the customer. I'm okay with that. That's the front end stuff. I don't care. I'm
The
okay with
dealership will be
making
like,
half.
no,
Exactly.
they
A
want
few
that
times,
revenue.
yeah, a few times the advisors would be like, hey, this is a really good customer. I want to treat them right. They bring their car in here all the time. Let's treat them right. And so often you hear about stealership, stealership, stealership.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I honestly didn't experience that. I had
Okay.
more issues with independent shops when it came to the water cooled stuff and modern cars because honestly, they didn't have the knowledge. They knew how to fix cars, but they didn't have the proprietary knowledge that we had coming from Volkswagen. They didn't have the support. So we could get to the problem quicker than they can. So in turn, it would cost the customer less to bring it to the dealer and get the work done. So a lot of times it was a false accusation by calling them dealerships. Yeah, some dealerships, sure, absolutely. But the ones that I worked for up until the end were not like that. My last dealership I worked for, they bought into a franchise. They got what's called Blue Sky. They didn't even have to pay for the lettering on the building. He's got a car group that he owns with several other investors, big with Lexus and Toyota. So he's a Japanese car
Mm,
dealership. All of
okay.
a sudden, here's this Volkswagen, which most people don't like Volkswagen when it comes to working on them, selling them. If you're used to Japanese cars, I don't want to touch a Volkswagen. You're
Sure.
used to American cars, I don't want to touch a Volkswagen. They come in and they start trying to do their warranty work the way they do with Toyota. Toyota at the time, they didn't pay diag time. They didn't want to hear from me at their master tech that they hired. They didn't want to hear proper procedure and stuff for doing these jobs, and they were turn and burn, turn and burn, turn and burn, turn and burn, turn and burn. I didn't like that. And so when I was with them, I opened that dealership up in 2012. And I lasted about a year, and I just couldn't anymore. They weren't an ethical dealership, and
Before I skip past before
sure,
I skip past this part, just because timeline, right? We were just talking about the Eurovans, early 2000s up to '03.
yes,
Um, what pulled you to them?
they're coming into the dealership constantly, constantly,
Okay. So
constantly, constantly.
you did say that.
Yeah.
So
So in Florida, in my earlier years, the only dealership near Sarasota that sold Eurovans was Reeves in Tampa. So
oh,
you're
Reeves is
you're
still here.
oh awesome. You're an hour and 15 minutes away from where my dealership was. Our dealership didn't sell them, so we didn't have to work on them. At that time, you didn't have to work on them because your dealership didn't sell them. We
And
didn't
what
have.
What was the problem? What were they coming in for? You said camshaft seal earlier, but
Well,
what was
so that was like on the Passat. So
okay.
Eurovans so I got real big with the Eurovans at the dealership in the early 2000s. So a big issue with the VR6 is there was an issue with your intermediate shaft sprocket. So the sprocket would just grind down the chains on the timing chains would just grind it down to nothing. And so these are vans with less than 10,000 miles on them. This is it just ate the metal apart.
Dude.
So I was looking at and you had to pull the transmission out, motors hanging in the van. You got to pull the transmission off, pull everything off the side of the motor to get to the timing chains and the gear and all that stuff. And you're replacing that gear, timing chains, guides, tensioner, all that stuff. So I became very intimate with that. I was doing at the time, so this was 2003, and I got recruited to come to Seattle. This is when I made the move from Florida to Seattle.
Okay.
Dealership moved me out here, bring my monster toolbox out here via flatbed tow truck, putting it into a moving truck, having to hire a flatbed tow truck to get it out of the moving truck,
Damn.
roll it in there, and people are like, who is this guy? I roll in there and I more or less get thrown to the wolves. It's like we need somebody to do these Eurovans. And myself and one other coworker, we did other stuff, but we were the Eurovan guys because we would be tied up for lengthy times doing these jobs in the Eurovans. And at the time, that job was the only real common issue with the Eurovans. That faulty metal they use to make that intermediate shaft sprocket. So we'd have a lift and the van would be down for a couple of days. The job I think paid at the time was like 25 hours because you're pulling transmission out, completely tearing the intake manifold off, taking the valve cover off, taking the side covers off the motor, the main seal, all that stuff, replacing all your timing chains, all that stuff. And then you put the transmission back on, put it all back together. And in the early days, people don't realize, well, your bolts have certain lengths that go from the transmission through to the engine. Only happened to me one time, and it's all it had to happen. Well, there's a particular bolt that's a little bit too long, and if you put that bolt in the wrong spot, it goes right through the water jacket in the block. One time it happened to me, and that's all it took. And that's when you're like, oh, I guess I should be numbering. You mark them on your piece of cardboard and stuff all the bolts through there, and then you have your orientation of how the bolts go. And and with
Good
me doing
tip.
them all
Good
the time,
tip.
yeah,
Good tip.
yeah. So it's me and the one other guy. We turned into the Eurovan guys,
Okay.
and that's what we did. And moved on to two other dealerships from my initial dealership out in Seattle.
Let's talk about Seattle real quick.
Yep.
What was the Seattle VW scene like? You know, you kind of already placed what it was like here, Tampa Bay area, kind of growing
Yeah.
up. Now we're early 2000s. What's the Seattle VW scene like?
It lasts about 2 months of the year.
Because it's so damn cold.
And it's just not so much cold. I mean, I'm in a pair of shorts right now. It's chilly out,
Okay.
but just it's chilly. So it's in the 40s. It stays in like wintertime, we're in the 40s.
Bro, you're
Low
from
40s at
Florida.
night.
You might have
Yeah,
forgot
I'm
because you've
from
been gone
Florida.
for a long time, but you're from
Yeah.
here. That's cold, dude.
Yeah, it is cold. I'm not that guy that rolls out in the Birkenstocks and shorts in the cold
Okay.
weather.
Okay.
I wear a hoodie 7 or 8 months of the year at least, and I'm in my Carhartts and I'm not in shorts. I
So
usually
let's go bigger picture then. Let's go
sure.
bigger picture. What's like culture difference between Northwest, Pacific Northwest VW people and down south Miami VW people, right? Others, it's like a different world.
It's a
You know,
different world, but
let me say this. Let me say
it's
this before you say that. Let me say this. I use an app called Life 360 with my family, my kids, my wife, right?
yes,
So I can track them and see where they're at.
right,
Really to keep them safe more than anything.
yeah.
But when I was out in Seattle just recently, I was just there a couple weeks ago. Um,
Sorry.
I pulled up Life 360 and I'm like, let me see how far away I am from my kids and my wife. I zoom out on like the world view, and I have to go so far away from the Earth on Google Maps that you can start to see the transition of the world.
Yeah, you see the curvature of the earth, right?
Yes, I'm like, dude, I'm a different world away. So, two massive differences
Yeah.
in people. explain that difference in culture to me.
For the most part, it's not a difference. We're cut from the same cloth.
Okay. Okay.
You do have your people that are again, you have your very earthy Volkswagen owners that really aren't in the scene. They've got their Volkswagen Vanagons, they've got their buses. They're Volkswagen lovers. They're no questions about it. But they're not. Let me quote this a little bit differently. Your van lifers. Your van lifers are a little bit different than your traditional Volkswagen enthusiasts.
Okay.
Great people. They're the same as you and I. They love Volkswagens. That culture is different. They are the ones that they'll go out camping for a week at a time, not shower. They've got their wool socks and Birkenstocks
Yeah.
on.
All
Uh,
natural stone deodorant.
yeah, they got
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
their patchouli on and their beanies and
Yeah. Got it.
their
Got it.
flannels. Their flannels left over from the grunge days out here.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
totally vibe with that.
yeah, but they still love the Volkswagens. You'll
Sure.
see
Sure.
them throughout the year.
Okay.
But then when I say spring out here is you're in the middle of summer in Florida. Spring out here is the end of May, beginning of June. That's spring. So that's when it's like, it's still, is it going to be gray and rainy? Is it going to be sunny but cool out? Some of the small shows start popping up. Like there's a burger joint that used to do a really cool seasonal. They'll do two car shows a year, and there's a Volkswagen meet. Not a whole lot of Volkswagen shows going on up here. There's a couple great ones. And that's when we get to interact with each other. I learned, and I go back to my old hot VWs, and you don't realize it. Back in even the 80s, you look and you see where a lot of these amazing air cooled cars and owners are. It's the Pacific Northwest. Bill Derricks, big in the Volkswagen air cooled world, all throughout the 80s. Um, Based out of here. The Bergs were based out of here, or before they were in down in California. And honestly, I believe they just actually several years back they still had a home up here that they finally, I believe, just sold, if I'm not mistaken. So they still had roots here. Um, so it's the same but different. Again, my car's back in the corner right now, and it's not going to see daylight until May or June. Granted, I've got my big motor I'm building for right now and finishing up some things, but overall it's the same. Just if you love them, you love them. You have the commonality. You got the guys up here. There's a guy up here that has 7 Hebmullers. He has He has 2 KDF cars, two
Does he
43
work? Does he
Beetles.
work in tech?
I believe he works in tech.
That's about the only way you could have
Again,
that kind of money.
yeah, I mean, again, amazing guy. You never know. Just down to earth,
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Shoots the shit with you at car shows. Awesome, awesome, awesome people up there. You got a lot of guys that are really into some amazing and rare air cooled Volkswagens, and then
Nice.
you have guys that are still they're into the big motor full custom. Granted, 2 of my closest friends recently moved from here, got tired of this rain and weather. One moved to Arizona, one
Mm,
moved to Vegas.
mm,
My buddy who moved to Vegas, knock on wood, he's talking about making that move down to Florida around the
mm.
same time I do. Because
Hey.
I told him about Sarasota, St. Pete. He was down there for a month,
Well, let's touch on
and
this. Let's touch on
just
this
loved it.
because you're right here with it. So you're talking about for those that know you and that are going to remember you from the area, you're talking about coming back to the Bay Area in the next 2 to 3 years. That
Yes.
might sound like a decent amount of time, but dude, that's like a couple weeks considering I just kind of feel like I was holding my daughter in my arms and she was this big. It feels like a month ago, and
Oh yeah.
she just turned 20.
Yeah.
So
No,
so
seriously.
so for real, 2 3 years is really right
It's
around the
nothing.
corner.
It's a flash in the pan. It's just
What's
nothing.
pulling you back?
I joked when I moved out here. People would always ask me why I moved out here. I said to get away from the rain, because
Oh,
living in
dude.
Florida your whole life,
Yeah.
it rains in one afternoon. When it does rain in Florida, that's the whole month out here in Washington. Granted, it's gray and drizzly out here, but overall rainfall inches,
Right.
you get that rain in a day
Yeah,
in
dude.
Florida. I
Yeah, we
mean,
do. We
but
get some downpours.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And my first wife and I visited out here in the summertime doing an Alaskan cruise. Summertime out here cannot be beat. It's amazing. It's on average 75 degrees in the middle of the day. You get your hot days
It's
for sure.
perfect.
Um,
It's like having your AC on.
exactly. And it's wonderful 2 to 3 months of the year. The rest of the time, your car is inside, you're hunkered down. It's dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't get light out till 8:30 in the morning. You go to work in the dark, you come home in the dark. And it's just
Damn.
you want to be you do. It's people talk about
Depression.
the depression, and
Yeah.
you do have a lack of vitamin D.
Yeah.
And it really does get depressing after a while. You don't mind the first couple months. Okay. But then when it starts getting into like right now, it's on the cusp of wanting to snow, but it wants to rain. And we're
Mm.
getting these atmospheric rivers, as they call them. And we just had
I heard
torrential
about
we
those.
had torrential Florida rain, which we don't have up here normally.
Right.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
So I've been here 22 years now as of Thanksgiving. Um,
Give me a couple things that excite you about coming back to Tampa Bay.
Friends and sunshine.
Friends and sunshine. How about
Being able to drive my cars most of the year. I know
hot,
it gets hot. They keep telling me it's
I was gonna say
different.
hot ass
It's hotter
humidity?
now.
Yeah.
Hey, I
It's
know the
not hotter though.
humidity.
It's not. I grew up
It's not
here.
hotter.
It's
We're
not
older.
hotter.
We just can't tolerate it as much.
That's exactly
It's
right.
different. Am I
It's
going to go?
we're more
Am I
pampered.
right? Am I going to go and drive my air cooled car in the middle of August, in the middle of the day, just to
You
go to
might.
Publix?
Yeah, you
I
might, but it's
might,
probably gonna
but
overheat.
it's not going to be nah. It's got so much cooling. I hope it better not overheat. So,
I'm just kidding
but
anyway,
just
but
I just we got cars with air conditioning that we need to drive. But for most of the year, I want to be able to hop in my car and enjoy it. It's even if it's just hop in it at you know sunset time, take a cruise out to the beach,
yeah, man.
drive it back home, put it in the garage. Out
Yeah,
here, 8 months, I don't want to drive in this nastiness. And it's not just drive. I don't care about driving my car in the rain.
right.
It's people forget how to drive. For as much as it rains out here, people forget how to drive. Our traffic it's nuts. It can sometimes take you 2 hours to go 6 miles. And you don't want to be in your air cool. My son, we're in the process of building his first car, which is a '63 ragtop.
Mm.
Um, just had all the metal work done by an amazing metal and paint guy out of Oregon, which I need to get in touch with you. He needs to be on your podcast. Um, I don't want that to be his daily driver. He's driving home from school and whatnot
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
interstate, and it's stop and go traffic. I've had people that I knew in Sarasota that've gotten rear-ended in their cars and have passed away because they've got low back seats, and this 5,000-pound Cadillac didn't slow down at the red light and plows right into the back of them.
Dude, yeah.
It's my kid.
Upset.
I'm not gonna, hey,
Yeah.
you've got your bug, drive it on the weekends, drive it to car shows, go
Yeah.
cruising around with your friends and at night, whatever. Absolutely. You know, but once you get back down to Florida, it's a little different. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna be driving on I-75 and driving to work and have to worry about him driving to school and his every day. We'll have that leisure to, enjoy it in the sunshine. We got, again, almost 12 months of the year in Florida.
Oh yeah.
There's at least a week out of every month you're able to enjoy your car.
It's a
We
very
used to go,
coastal, as you grew up here. It's
yeah,
the coastal feel, what's popular here in the area now is, a lot of the safari, windshield, front
yep,
window, back window safari,
right,
real wide on the
right.
sides. A
Pulling that
lot
air
of
in.
a lot of convertibles are here. A lot of things are popular in the
Right,
area
right,
now. You can take the whole freaking doors off and roof off and sunroofs.
right.
The cloth sunroofs are popular.
Yep.
Can't find the skin of a roof that has one. Guys are just cutting them in down here.
Oh yeah, they got Britex is making a really really nice sunroof kit again.
Yes,
That was the
yes.
route we were gonna do. So my son's car is kind of sacrilege. It was an original paint '63 out of
Mm,
Spokane, Washington. It had
mm.
never left Spokane.
Damn.
Um, COVID happened. So I'm like, I'm going to blow this car apart and build it. I thought I was going to be slow. My business went through the roof. I was so busy. So that car is still being built. I turned around. I'm like, let's build it for him. I found a roof clip, and my guy, Paul Iazio out of Oregon, amazing, amazing metal and paint guy.
Hmm.
He grafted that sunroof in, and you can't tell. You'll only be able to tell by the build sheet on the car.
Right.
There's no paint or anything on the car yet. You can't tell from the underside or the top side that there's that clip's been put in there. You
Yeah.
cannot tell. Period. There's no mud even in the car yet. Nothing. It's just all sheet, all metal work. And so that's what we did, go that route.
What's your personal philosophy when it comes to, I guess, being a tech, a VW mechanic? Because I have a lot of hobbyists, I have a lot
Mhm.
of builders, I have a lot of mechanics, and I have a lot of people that are do it DIY, but don't do this for a profession, right? Come on.
Right.
And I kind of asked the same question. What's your philosophy when it comes to wrenching?
Do it right the first time.
Mm,
If you do it right the first time, you're not going in there trying to redo it and redo it
mm,
and redo it. I'd much rather take an extra amount of time going and fixing something somebody didn't do right. So if I have to go back in there again the next time, it's 100% proper. It's, yeah, the part can fail. Air cooled cars, things happen. Things
hmm.
are made outsourced overseas. You can throw in a master cylinder 3 times in one of these cars now,
Right.
and 3 of them can fail. They're brand new.
Right, right.
And but if you're that guy and you slam it in there and you cross thread your fitting into the, but it's sealed and it's working. No, don't let it go out the door that way. You can't, because then the next person working on it, they have to explain to somebody, hey, I have to do, wait a minute, well, I just had that fixed. Well, they didn't do it right.
Mm,
And it just, am I the best business owner and stuff? Do I take on too much? Yeah. Sometimes I take a little bit longer than I should on something, but I'm not going to charge somebody for taking longer on something. It is what it is. If there's billable hours and then there's jobs that pay what they pay.
right.
But am I going to do a brake job and just slap it all together and not lubricate the slides? Am I not going to clean the nasty brake dust and all that off and just ship it? No, I'm going to spend 10, 15 minutes cleaning up this stuff that I'm putting back on the car.
Yeah, it's great, man.
So it just makes sense. It doesn't, 10 or 15 minutes of your time is not going to break the bank. It's just,
Hey,
and then
do it
people,
right the first
and
time. I
that's just
love
it.
that.
And people see that, you take the passion and the pride in doing it right, and doing it right the first time. They see if they've got fingerprints on their car. They see if you got. I just had a job done at a muffler shop, and I had a van. It was all detailed. It was a consignment van that was going out for the company that I do a bunch of work for. I did a bunch of work. I took it to the muffler shop so they could scab the muffler in. It comes back and the door panel just got black handprints all over it. But rather than getting upset about it and saying, "Hey, you guys," I didn't even mention it. I bring it back here, and I spent my time, my 15 minutes, cleaning it all back up again. It's so that when it goes out the door, it's correct, and that's the main thing. When it comes to doing stuff, hey, sometimes it's not the cheapest, but my philosophy as well: cry once. You know, you put junk parts in a car, which I've had people, they'll buy the crappiest parts there are, and they want them in the car, and you want to treat them right, and you'll be like, okay. So I pretty much have a pretty strong philosophy on that I'm not going to put somebody else's parts in the car. Now,
Yeah,
if
that
your
makes
part
sense
comes
though.
from someone that I get my part from, and I know it came from there, okay, and
That's
it's
different,
it's a
right?
particular part. I know, fine. If you
I
got it
know
for a
that.
cheaper price than me, okay, that's fine.
I know
That's
that.
not my issue.
I know that a lot of mechanics feel that way as well because of the market nowadays in this
Right,
hobby. There's a
right.
huge market there for parts. And I think a lot of these companies out there now that make it so easy to do business with them, and tomorrow morning the parts are on my doorstep. It's like shit, it's almost hard to not order them, right?
Absolutely.
But
That's
then they
the
don't
big
work.
thing.
Yeah, then they don't
Exact. And
work.
that's a big thing. And then people do also, they're like, I've had people get upset. We had a wonderful aftermarket air cooled shop, probably about 40 minutes from me, but they were the closest brick and mortar store that actually carried stuff. That I'm not going to bash a brand because every brand has its faults.
Sure, sure, sure.
You can have your MP, which can be junk or it can be brilliant. You can have your part that you got that's NOS from Volkswagen Germany. You spent a fortune on that could be junk.
Hmm.
It's a crapshoot. We don't know for sure
Right.
what you're going to get, but people have the misconception to your point about being able to just order it online. It's at my door either overnight or 2 days. I've got CIP1, their warehouse is in Blaine. I get stuff a lot of times I can get next day.
Nice.
Again, you have to do your due diligence.
Hmm.
Some of their stuff, and they specify right on their website, economy, or they have their OEM quality. They have their
That's nice. They
OEM.
give options. That's wonderful.
Absolutely,
That's
absolutely. And
wonderful.
on some stuff, it's fine. You can't spend the money on the big part right now. If this part's going to do the same job for you and not compromise safety in the car or reliability, by all means, sure. Hey, you don't want to spend the money on a German door seal for your Beetle? Okay, the next one down is Brazilian. Okay, the next one down is going to be, some other country after that. It's like it'll work, it'll be fine. It's not going to, make or break your car and cause you to break down or cause a safety issue with your car. 9 times out of 10, you can buy a brake rotor for your disc brake conversion for your car, and it can be a CB Performance rotor, it can be a J Bugs rotor, it can be a SoCal rotor, or it can be an empty rotor. Most of them are made in the same place, and you're going to get it, and you need to turn that rotor 9 times out of 10 before you bolt that on that car, because 9 out of 10 of them are out of round. You don't have to cut much off of them, but you need to run them on the lathe. And any of the guys that I've met from California, King VW, who's an amazing builder, he cuts every rotor. So these people that want to have their rotors, they want them detailed for their show cars. It's like, hey, go ahead and get your rotors Cerakoted or powder coated before you go. Then you have them turned, and guess what? Your surfaces that aren't mounting surface or rotor surface, you can have those all. They won't start rusting down the road, which it's bare metal under there. It's going to start rusting on your street car. Spend the time, spend a little bit extra. It's going to last you a lot longer. It's just kind of how it is. It's just don't skimp.
Yeah. So, air cooled culture for you, where's it headed, say, next 10 years?
Wow. I thought it was dwindling.
It's blowing
I
up.
think it did for a little while. Right now, I know the market's soft when it
Yeah.
comes to selling cars,
Yeah.
and
I've
that's
noticed.
normal. You're still getting cars. You're still getting 54 barn door busts going across the auction block at $210,000.
Right, right, right. Well, the
That's
rare
an
ones,
unobtainium.
there's
Yeah,
there's still
they're still
value
going to
there.
hold.
Yeah. It's in
My
the
my
it's in the $20,000 ones that are now selling for 10 grand that you're like, wait a
Right,
minute,
right.
damn.
And gone are the days when, Dave and I will reminisce about, you want $10,000 for that car? We could buy that car for $1,500 back in the day. It's a different time.
Right.
And the resurgence is growing and growing and growing. And I see it getting bigger and bigger. And more companies are producing parts. You've got guys in the US that are producing, like we talked about Safari windows and such,
Yeah.
the best Safari wind. Shout out to Jeremy Brooks and Safari windshield. His Safari windshields are by far top notch, and he just joined forces with Silver Lining Restorations so he can produce his Safari windshields in a much timelier manner. So his windshields are so popular. He's always backed up 4 or 5 months for Safari windshield frame, and that's
It's
loose
good to
nuts
know that.
VW Safaris.
Yeah,
Now with
I'm gonna
now
get some from him. I want front and
Yeah,
back.
it's again, it's going, so his stuff is going through Silver Lining, which they purchased Lenny Kopp's West Coast Classics Interiors. They get all your factory materials and they do all your interiors if you want. Their restorations are through the roof, top notch. But now they're offering products that you don't have to go out of the country and get. Yeah, there's people out of the country that are making them. There's a guy in Mexico doing them. There's a guy in Brazil that's doing them. Granted, I've got one of Jeremy's windshields, and I've got one of the guy from Brazil's windshields. The guy from Brazil, it's fine. Again, is it going to be okay? Yeah, it's fine. Is it as good as the one made in the US? No, it's not. Are you paying less for it? Yeah, you are. And it shows. Is it garbage? No, it's not garbage. Are you hoping it gets here from Brazil? Yeah, you are. Mine got here. It wasn't even in a box. It was just wrapped in bubble wrap and like plastic sheathing through FedEx. And I saw it on my doorstep. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It, I was like, "What the heck?" And it was fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's sufficient. I'm not going to knock the guy. He's putting out a product that somebody who may not be able to afford the top notch one can. Is it garbage? No. Does it get you by? Your Safari's going to leak anyway if you're in the rain. I
Right.
don't. There's
Well,
no way to make a Safari windshield not leak.
you don't. That's not why you have them.
Exactly.
You got to
That's
expect.
exactly right.
You got to
Yeah.
expect that, right? You
Yeah.
got to expect that.
But moving forward, to answer your question a little more, it's getting bigger and bigger. You've got more
Hmm.
guys building cars, not just for themselves, but for customers.
Hmm.
You've got, so today you have these guys that have their shops that are doing ridiculous metal and paint work. Back in the day, I found Teddy's Hot Rods in the 80s. They were it. They built show cars. They didn't offer, nobody had Gerson panels. There were no Gerson panels back then. There was no silver metal, the guys out of Ohio with their metal panels. But now you have these guys that are producing products in the US, or they're importing. They've got factories outside of the US that are producing for them. You've got guys building front beams. You've got um, Old Speed. He's been around forever in California. He's been building beams forever. Top notch stuff. You've got Brian Type E Motorsports in South Dakota. He's building suspensions, narrow beams. His stuff is bulletproof, just amazing stuff. And you've got these people offering goods and services. So people's resources are there.
Hmm.
Granted, these big shops that are just producing amazing work, Paul Iazio, for example, he's a one-man band. And if you see the work that he puts out and how quickly he does work and it's done right, he's one guy. And you're like, how do you do this work so quickly? He blows my mind. He's got his own wheel company. He produces Iazio wheels that's through a bigger wheel company. And he does 17-inch three-piece wheels. He does a gas burner, and he does a lightweight Porsche alloy type wheel
Mm.
that it's a forged two-piece amazing wheel that he does as a side hustle. But he's bringing these products to the Volkswagen lovers. That's more of a high-end guy that's going to go. You're going to spend $5,000 on a wheel that's built to fit your car.
Right.
But then you have guys. You have CIP1 that. Back when growing up, you wanted to find wheels. You had MP5 spokes, MP8 spokes. BRMs were unobtainium. Granted, I found a set for $75 at Bug Jam one year. Original magnesium BRMs. It was in 1993. I found them.
Damn.
$75. I turned around. I sold them for $500, and I thought I was king of the world. Now
Right.
look at them. You can't even find anybody that'll come off a set.
Mm.
But you have people making reproductions, and that's fine for us average folks. You have guys that have to have period correct absoluteness. It's there. So it's, again, growing. I see the culture growing. My
Let's touch on
son,
that.
my
Let's
son
touch
is
on that. You
into
can talk
them.
about your son. I want to
Sure.
hear. I want to hear about your son, but in this aspect, your son's 15,
He's 14 and a half.
14. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's a good number. What
Yeah.
advice? What advice do you give a 14-year-old kid getting into VWs today? What does Joe Kent give advice on?
This is a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. And a lesson that I learned from just one of my idols, a custom car builder by the name of Gene Winfield. Famous car builder. I actually studied doing some work under him in some metalworking classes and such. Just icon in the car building world. Don't give up on it. Don't quit. Just finish it through completion. I've had several cars in my youth that I started building. Car got to paint. It was painted. Time to put the car back together. I saw the shiny ball off to the left and my focus left. And I had friends that were just foaming at the mouth to see what next car they could get from me. And I wasn't going to follow through and finish it.
Yes. Okay.
Follow through, finish it. Whatever your level of finishing is, if it's just a car you want to drive and not put paint on and just make it so you can drive it and enjoy it, get it to that point. If it's to build a full blown show car, finish it. If it's in the middle, power through and finish it. Even if it takes you 20 years, just if you don't have the money to finish it now, put it aside, leave it alone. Don't sell it. Don't lose your ass on it.
Yes.
Save it, save it, and just power
That's
through.
that's great advice, man.
Even if you lose interest on it, and you're not going to do anything with it, you're not going to sell a car that's in 1,000 pieces, even though it might be ready to put back together. You're going to make pennies on the dollar of that
Right.
car.
Right.
Get it back together,
Okay.
get it running, get it driving, put a little bit more of an investment into it. Are you going to recoup everything? No, probably not. You might, and then sell it. And you're just, it's just going to benefit you and then move on to what you're into next. My son, is he huge into Volkswagens? No. Does he like helping me on them sometimes? Yes. He's becoming a little bit more into his music and art and stuff like that, but he still wants to build his car. But he does have his eye on the prize of what he wants to be his dream car. And, my dream car is a 49 or 50 head Mueller. I'll have it at some point. I have friends who have them. I can live through them and just dream. And I'll do that for now. And at some point, I'll have my head Mueller. That's my dream car. So
I got one kid left I've got two left getting their driver's licenses, but the three brothers are very close in proximity with their age. So the first one got his license, the second one got his license and got a car. Now Levi's next, just in June of next year.
well,
The last two missed taking the test in the 71 Carmen Ghia auto clutch because the horn didn't work.
oh,
Yeah, so I keep telling myself, don't mess this up. Let this at least let this last boy of the three that are close like that in age, let him take it in an old classic Volkswagen, so he'll have that
right.
memory for his life. So I still haven't gotten the
Yeah.
horn fixed. I need to get it. It's something probably so stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'll
anyhow.
fix it when I come down there.
Okay. Well, it'll probably
Yeah.
still be broken. That's
Right.
what's
Right.
funny about it. No, but that was really,
Yeah.
really good advice, man. That hit. That was
Yeah.
awesome. And
And
I think
again,
that was like
someone,
very universal,
yeah, it
too,
is.
because
And
that's what happens in this community to a lot of us. And I say
yeah.
us because I've got two in the driveway right now that I'm not able to at this current moment, this week, maybe not next week either. I'm not able to aid attention to them.
Right.
It's not bothering me. It's bothering everybody else around me more than it's bothering me. I
Right.
give a
You'll
shit
get to
less.
it.
Yeah, I'll get to it when I can. My kids'
Yeah.
root canals and their cars and a successful life for them, it's a little more important than my selfish hobbies or whatever,
Right.
right? I
Yeah.
just don't, I see the world a little bit different. I'm not
Oh
gonna
yeah.
spend my last dollar making sure, and not this ain't about me, but I don't really have the body type to be doing a lot of the work myself. I got a really bad
Yeah.
back. I can't get down on the
Yeah.
ground too well. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be 50 years old. I'm not making excuses. It's just, bro, I gotta pay to
You're
get
slowing
people
down.
to do
You're
that kind of
slowing
stuff
down.
for me. Yeah, I gotta pay
Yeah.
for it. I'm not like so my point is couple different things. One, I'll be really excited when a good air cooled old school mechanic's back in this area
Yeah.
because I got stuff that you can do right now. So I'll be super excited. But the point was, big picture, I feel that, and a lot of people are going to feel that. Just see it through. Don't lose hope. Don't lose interest. See it through. Stick to the project. I wish that I would have already a couple of times in my small VW career of having cars and the ones that got away, etc.
Yeah.
So I
Oh
felt
yeah.
that. I felt that
Right.
completely.
Yeah. Yeah, and so in this day and age, it's so easily forgotten. You've got so many kids. I don't know about in Florida, but up here, kids don't even want to get their license. I know I have got friends who have 20-year-old kids, adults, sorry, that they don't even care about getting a driver's license. Again,
No,
public transportation up here is awesome, but I don't want to take the bus. I want to
no, dude,
drive.
you
I want to
couldn't
get
listen.
somewhere.
I was driving by the time I was 13.
Right.
The hell are these kids talking
Exactly.
about? I don't even understand
Exactly.
these kids, that don't get their driver's licenses on the. If if my birthday would have fell on a Saturday, I'd have probably cried for 2 weeks.
Right.
Thank God it was in the middle
Exactly.
of the week when I was 16 and I was able to just be there on their doorstep waiting in the morning to get my license,
Right.
and
Same
I was
here.
driving that day, same day,
Yep.
same yeah, I was driving that
Yeah.
day.
Right. Same here.
All
And
over the city.
yeah, and I'm fortunate. My son, granted, he's got a year and a half before he's licensed. He wants to learn how to drive on a stick.
Yeah, good.
And that's a lost art in itself. Hey,
Yeah,
the best anti-theft device for a car these days is that third pedal.
that's it.
That's
That's
and
right.
that's a
You are
fact.
so, so,
That's a
so
fact.
true. Yes, it is.
So, and like you were mentioning body type and all. I'm a little slower now. And you're gonna joke. You don't realize when you meet me, and I might meet you the end of this month because I'm going to be down for the VW Getaway.
Oh,
Um,
cool. Yeah, I'll be there.
yeah,
I'm
and
I'm covering Getaway for Volksmania magazine.
nice. I'm just at 6'8". I'm a tall guy, and I've always loved
Golly.
small cars. And my son, who's 14, he's just over 6'5" already.
6'8"?
Yeah, I'm six. I'm just a shy under 6'8" now. I'm shrinking a little bit now, so
Bro, you're a foot taller than me. I
I'm a tall I'm a lengthy person.
yeah, I
So
come up to your nipple. You're a, you're a,
yeah.
you're a foot taller than me. That's
Yeah,
bizarre. It'll
yeah.
be
And my
cool to see you
son,
because
yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
looking
And
up
my
at
son, he's 6'5", almost 6'5" and a half. He's
you.
14. So yeah,
Golly.
he's a tall one too.
Yeah,
But yeah,
okay.
he's anxious to start driving, and he's anxious to
Good.
drive a stick. And I don't push it on him. I don't make him, I don't, I know so many friends that try to push their kids into lifestyles, and they're into like the rockabilly scene and the hot rods, and
Yeah.
try to dress their kids in the quote unquote costumes, and
Yeah.
and all the 50s music and rockabilly music. And granted, I love that stuff. It's awesome. But their kids just kind of, no thanks. My son, I let him do it organically. Hey, I need you to come help me at the shop. I'm going to pay you. We got to put all these windows in a bay window bus. I'll give you $10 per window. We're going to be done in an hour. He makes $60 to help put all the windows in a bay window bus in less than the kid made $60 in less than an hour.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
then he'll come up and ask me, "Hey, Dad, when are we going to do windows in a bus again?" Because
Yeah.
it's a quick and easy $60 for him.
Yeah.
It's
Love that. Love that.
but I don't push it on him. I let him, let him follow his own path, his own dreams. And if he's mentioned he wants to do this when I'm done, when he gets older, I'm like, do it for a hobby. Don't, save your back, save your knees, save,
Yes. Save your
as
back.
as a career, keep your Volkswagens and Porsches as a hobby. Learn it all. Learn what you can from me. Learn from everybody. Learn the good and the bad. Learn what to do. Learn what not to do, and just do it. And then you'll know it. You'll be able to do it in the future. And you want to work on someone's car on the weekend, you can. You want to work on your own car and fix something, you can.
Hmm.
But you don't
Definitely a
have
good
to do it.
skill. It's
Yeah.
definitely a good skill.
Yeah, you got to be able to do things and fix
Hmm.
things and everything. So
All right, I got some rapid fire questions. These are questions that would yield a fast response, but if a
fire away.
story comes of it, hey, I'm
Okay.
here, I'm here for the party. You ready?
Fire away. I'm ready.
All right, let's see here. Worst VW engine ever built.
Worst VW engine. I'm going to get flack for this. My opinion is the 5-cylinder 2.5 water cooled.
Okay.
Not my favorite,
It's
but
okay. It's
not
okay.
terrible. But I'm calling it the worst.
All
Not a
right,
bad
look.
engine, but the worst
All
to
right, how
me.
about the best VW engine ever built?
VR6. VR6.
VR6.
Absolutely.
Most overrated VW model of all time. Overrated.
Overrated. I'll get flack for this too. 21 window deluxe bus.
I swear, if you go back and listen to all the episodes, man, everybody says that a split bus is the most overrated Volkswagen model.
Yeah. Well,
That's
my
so funny.
opinion though, so it's not just a split bus. So I would much rather have a 15 window hardtop bus, which are getting harder and harder to find because so many people cut those up to make 23 windows by
Right.
putting the roof skin on.
Yeah.
The sunroof's cool, it's fun. I've worked on them, I've built them, but definitely overrated. Is it worth 150, $200,000? No. Is it going to cost you to restore one correctly? Yes, it will cost you that.
Mm.
So if you find one for that price and you have to have one, don't restore it. Get it looked at, buy one if you have to have one. But as far as overrated, I think they are the most overrated.
How about underrated? Most underrated model of all time.
That's a rough one too. Um, underrated. Hmm. The 411. Very underrated car. It's the super Beetle of squarebacks, fastbacks. It's gets so much hate.
Okay.
Is it the cool car? No. Is it? It's the Cadillac of air-cooled Volkswagens. It's got struts. It's got a Type 4 motor in it. Is it cool? No. But if you find a nice one, that car is cushy to drive. I
Sweet.
I don't like them, but I'll give it its props.
Best year that VW ever produced a model. Best year.
So to me, it's going to be technically not Volkswagen, but Volkswagen produced it, and the coach builders went from there. 4950 Hebmuller is my go-to.
Favorite smell.
The
Favorite
German the
VW.
German bathhouse smell. The sisal fibers of your seats, and
Yes.
especially in Florida in the
The seats.
summertime
Oh,
when
dude, the
you
seats.
when you find that Volkswagen that's been sitting for 30 years and you open that door that hasn't been opened and it's just the sun's out and it's not a foul smell, it's not a good smell, it's just a smell you will never ever in your life forget that smell ever.
Okay. I have to agree with you. It's so funny to speak that. I feel the same way. When I think of a smell, I think of obviously gasoline, air cooled
Yeah,
gasoline, but I always smell my seats.
yeah,
I always smell my
absolutely.
seats. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's where you spend your time. You drive an old original Volkswagen Beetle or whatever it is, and it's got all the original everything in it. You smell that smell every day. If you're driving that for your daily driver, you smell that smell every day. That's the air freshener in the car, per se. And then when it came out to the Mark IV Volkswagens, like with the Beetle, the Golf, the Jetta, they have a very distinct crayon smell inside those cars. And that's a gigantic complaint. If you were to go through and look at
Where is it
complaints,
from?
it's I don't know if it's in the foam
Oh,
or if it's the carpet or the underlayment, but we used to have to replace carpet and seat upholstery because people would complain it smells like crayons, and it
that's
bothered them.
wild.
We would hear it weekly that it smells like crayons. So in the Mark IV variants of Volkswagens, the Golfs and Jettas and stuff, they smelled like crayons. But vintage Volkswagens, it's the German bathhouse. It's the sisal fibers inside your seats. That's the most memorable smell that there will ever be.
One word that describes the Volkswagen community.
Family. I'm sure you hear. I know you hear it a lot. I've never seen a Volkswagen owner that wouldn't help another Volkswagen owner.
Hmm.
Um, 9 out of 10 of us would give the shirt off our back. I mean, granted, many of us are in it for a business. I know many business owners that they'll be working on someone's car and they basically end up donating hours and hours because you're not going to charge the customer for that. But you know what? It's the right thing to do.
Hmm.
And in the end of the day, we're a big family, not by blood, but by choice.
Mm, that was awesome. And that's a wrap for this episode of DubLife Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you love today's episode, Don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at DubLife Diaries, or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. DubLifeDiaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning, and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.